Happy Sunday to you. It is a happy day, isn't it? It seems happy to me. I know that not all people are happy, especially not everywhere, but when you have God in your life, when you have Jesus and the Holy Spirit operating in your life, you at least have that joy that's in there that can spring up at moments. And I feel that today. I feel a lot of that happiness that springs forth from that well of joy. I felt it at Mass. I felt it after Mass. People seemed happy, and I enjoyed singing in the choir. The choir seemed to be at peace and to be, I don't know how to explain it. There was just this presence of something different because it's not always there. I feel like the world was very distracted and sad for a long time during COVID and after COVID. And of course, world events make it difficult sometimes to focus on being joyful in God. I try not to read too much news because it's depressing. I do like to stay informed. I don't like to be completely ignorant about what's going on in the world. And I know that news will filter down to me eventually, even if I don't make a concerted effort to go out and say, buy the New York Times or subscribe to the New York Times. There's no way that's going to happen. I think the New York Times is pretty bad news anyway. It's not a very good newspaper. I don't think many of our major newspapers in the United States, they have so many times over and over and over again shown that they are fake news. Their spin is really just dishonesty. I had this argument once with a journalist. So of course she was going to argue with me, and I was claiming that the news lied all the time. And she insisted that spin was not lying. Well, it is. Telling the truth with a perspective that makes it not true, that's lying. That's totally lying. And every person knows that that's lying because it's what people tend to do. They put their own spin on things to make themselves look better or make a situation seem better, or because they want something. We all know what that's about. We all know what spin is. It's the truth told with dishonesty, which makes it dishonest. Yes, that's the truth. That it's dishonest. It's the truth that it is dishonest. So, what do I have to say on this Sunday? I have a lot to say, and I prayed before I came on here, but I haven't really organized my thoughts. I haven't written an outline. I don't even follow outlines when I write them, so what's the point? And I have no cue cards to read off of. And I do, like I said, I have a lot to say. I just have to sort of take a deep breath and say it. You know, what's kind of funny is that, yes, I am sort of impulsively making these videos. I like to live in the moment. It is important to me. I realize that a lot of our lives require planning, like in our jobs, when, like, say, a teacher has to make lesson plans, and I have operated in that capacity many times, and I have a very planned schedule. I have these modules of time. It used to be when I was a freelancer, and I did have some set times when I did tutoring, but I had a lot of time that could be, blocks of time that could be moved around. So I would shift things, to whatever worked best. So I would, I had to have time to work on my books and exercise and play my accordion and whatever, I had my list of things, and they were like these time modules that I could move around, except of course my tutoring, which I couldn't move around because that would be weird to show up at somebody's house, say, I'm going to tutor your child now. Like, well, my child's not here, they're still at school. So no, that wouldn't work very well. And I also found that, getting up at 6 a.m. and playing my accordion was not going to make me well loved in my family. So, you know, that's not very movable either. So I play my accordion later in the day, or I always have played it later in the day. And actually, before I stopped my freelancing, at about 8 o'clock or so, I had the house completely empty to myself. I could have played the accordion if I wanted to, but I still played it later in the day. My voice is getting gravelly, so take a sip of my St. Patrick's coffee. Yes, if St. Patrick's had coffee, it would be very robust and it would stay piping hot for a long time. I firmly believe that. You know, Irish coffee tends to have whiskey in it, but I promise you, I'm not drinking Irish coffee. It's just regular old black coffee, plain black coffee, because that's the kind of person I am, very plain. Oh my goodness. I hate it when I do this to myself. I say something, I get into a digression, and then I completely lose my train of thought. And then I have to sit there like, I feel like Winnie the Pooh from the Pooh Bear stories was like that. Like, he would completely lose his train of thought because he wasn't very bright. And it was because he was a stuffed animal, and that was made clear in the stories that it was because he was, you know, made of fluff and stuff. Well, maybe my head is made of fluff and stuff. I've long wondered that because, gosh, I never could do well in school growing up. I was a terrible student. I couldn't focus. I'd be like, I was really surprised myself when I decided to go back to college, because I actually did really well in college, and it didn't really matter what class I took. If I worked hard at it, I could get an A in anything, math, history, whatever. It didn't really matter if I worked hard. You know, I have to work hard because you kind of have to punch through that fluff and stuffing in your head when you are an airhead like I am. Well, okay, airhead or stuffing, kind of two different images. So maybe I'm not an airhead, maybe I just have a head full of fluff, because I do like to laugh a lot, and that's my general reaction to the world, is to laugh. And speaking of being in real time, that is one problem with being, you know, some people have a hard time being present in the moment. And I would say that sometimes, yes, that is my problem, because I'm constantly, you know, thinking and examining and looking and wanting to be an observer of the world, which is not always helpful or useful. It doesn't help you get things done. It doesn't help you interact with other humans. So it's kind of not the best way to live. But I find that when I'm actually living in the moment, that unfortunately I laugh, because I find everything to be funny. And this is why I consider myself to be a comedian, but other people might not, because they don't find things amusing like I do. I find just ordinary things, I find that they really amuse me, and I don't know what to say about that. I don't know how to be comedic for other people. I only know that I'm constantly amused, and that is a problem with being in the moment, because I don't want to laugh at inappropriate times. I mean, obviously. And, you know, like when I'm at Mass, for example, I don't feel too inclined to laugh, because I am concentrating and I am praying, and I'm trying to praise God, and so I'm kind of in the moment on that level, and so I'm not going to laugh unless the joy of the Spirit overwhelms me, and which, of course, you know, what can I do about that? But no, I don't. I try not to laugh at inappropriate moments, because you know, it's not a way to get people to really like or appreciate you if you're laughing at serious moments in their life. Anyway, yeah, I do find the world to be amusing, and I mean, like, please don't take me seriously. Like, I have this cheap sheet on my wall with Jesus as the Good Shepherd, and I would probably laugh at somebody who made a video with that image in the background, because it would be amusing and funny. But on the other hand, it's not, because it's such a beautiful image that it's not funny on that level, but it is really funny that it's like this, $10 thing that I ordered off of Amazon because I wanted to cover the particle board on the walls. And yes, it's my studio. It's my studio image. And no, actually, it's real, and I'm really in that field, and those sheep are around me, and that Jesus is really there. Yeah, that's the truth. It's not even a studio or a shed with particle board walls. It's actually that I'm in that field right now. I'm just imagining myself in a field with sheep. I don't think it would be as pleasant as I think it would be because sheep kind of smell. Yeah, I mean, animals smell. That's just the way it is. But Jesus loves us anyway, regardless of how smelly we are. Speaking of that, there was something I wanted to say about that. What was it? Oh, yeah. About love and affirmation and wanting it from the world, and it's not really satisfying. And not only is it not satisfying when you seek for love and affirmation from people in the world, just have to get used to the fact that my dogs are going to come and go. They open the door. One dog knows how to open the door. The other dogs don't. Yeah, they're not really so big on that, but one dog knows how to open the door, so there's no way I can keep them out. So they're always coming and going, and they're hugely distracting to me because they're such brats. Oh my gosh, why do I have dogs? They're such brats, and they make such a mess. Anyway, they actually do love their humans. They're very loyal. I mean, at least I think it's love. It seems like it's love. They're very loyal. In a way that most humans won't be, unfortunately. But I'm not really contrasting human love to dog love, more to the love that God gives us, because the human love that we receive will always fall short. And honestly, a lot of people, I would say most people are never going to experience love from other humans. Yeah, they might get lucky. I was going to say get lucky, and then I was going to change it to blessed. Get blessed isn't really, that sounds awful, but get lucky is a normal English adage. Some people are blessed with love from their parents, and some people are blessed with love, marital love. But most people, they might have one and not the other. And some people just never experience love from anybody. They have parents who can't express their love, even if their parents do love them. And they might recognize that at some point in their life, but they have parents who can't express that. And marital love is even more difficult, I think. It's really hard for, I think, male and female just really don't connect or understand each other, and I think it's really difficult for them to live in a household together and express love. And so if you are looking for love and affirmation from other humans, you will be very disappointed, but you will not be disappointed if you look for that from God, because He can love us in a pure way, and it seems intangible. Like, well, He can't wrap His arms around me. Like in the image there, He's holding somebody, He's holding a little lamb, and that's an image of holding, one of our souls. And He doesn't really do that, but He can reach us physically. I mean, I felt His tangible presence before in my life. So it doesn't seem the same, and it's not the same as human love. And of course, we are wired to want and desire love even from other humans. I think that's part of being human, is to want that human connection with other people, even though it's very difficult. And of course, affirmation too, I think, is necessary. Love and affirmation are very necessary to the human soul. But when you're dealing with other traumatized humans, because everybody's been traumatized. It doesn't really matter what their experiences are. Life will traumatize you. Childhood traumatizes you. Even if you've had a great childhood, you will still end up with some trauma in the soul, because everybody's been rejected. Everybody's gone through difficult times. That's what it means to be human. And so we carry that with us, and that can often make it very difficult for us to express love. So yeah, there is that physical hug aspect to love that we don't always experience as much as we would like. And it doesn't feel like God can give us that love, but he really does touch us on a physical level. It's kind of interesting to me because we want mosquitoes. We want love from others, and often we don't know how to give it ourselves. So we're in the same boat as all the other humans out there who can't really express their love very easily. And it's sad but true. That's just life. And it just popped into my head that so a lot of times when I'm at work, I listen to music when I'm at work a lot, but I like to listen to Christian, inspirational, prophetic, whatever. I like to listen to Christian videos, apologetics. I listen to apologetics a lot, but sometimes I don't want to listen to apologetics. I want to, like Trent Horn, for example. I like to listen to Trent Horn. And for Protestants, I really appreciate Gavin Ortland, but I mean, as far as it goes, you know, I'm going to be more inclined to agree with Trent Horn, although sometimes I don't like his debate tactics, because I don't think that he's being, well, that's a story for another day. We'll talk about debate another day. I don't want to talk about that right now. I might get more into Christian apologetics because I don't know. We'll see. Because debate can be really annoying, and I find that people use these stupid rhetorical tactics that are really just changes of subjects, and they're not really addressing the issue. And one that very prominent, well, at least I consider them prominent, Catholic apologists will often use, that annoys me, and I know I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to now, is that they like to name drop some Protestants, like Martin Luther, for example. They'll name drop Martin Luther to make their point. And I'm like, it doesn't really matter what Martin Luther said. It doesn't really matter what he thought. Martin Luther was Catholic. Martin Luther left the Catholic Church, yes, but he was Catholic. So that's the way he was raised. That was the way he was raised to think. And then he, of course, put up his theses. He nailed them on the wall. Or supposedly, I mean, I don't know if he actually physically nailed those to a door, but that's the story. That's the way it goes. You know, the story goes. Yeah, he did leave the Catholic Church, but he was raised Catholic. So using him as a truth bomb doesn't really work, especially with Protestants who are like, well, who cares what Martin Luther said? He started out his life Catholic, and all we care about is what the Bible says. And that is really the way Protestants approach apologetics, is this is what the Bible says. And that's not always the way Catholics approach it, but they will usually when they are debating Protestants. But the whole name dropping bombs of either Protestants like Martin Luther or of fathers of the church, sometimes it's just annoying to me, and I don't like it. I think it's a change of subject. I think, especially when you use Martin Luther, I think it becomes like a red herring. Well, or like a gotcha moment. This is what Martin Luther said. Well, who cares what Martin Luther said? I don't. I mean, what does that have to do with anything? Yeah, he had some good things to say at times, honestly. I can say that as a Catholic and say he did have some good things to say. But when it comes to a debate and using it as a gotcha, it's super annoying to me, personally. Okay, getting back to what had popped into my head, it was that sometimes I'm like, God, I really don't have any energy. I'm feeling despair. I'm feeling down. I just need something encouraging. I need a word from you. So please just lead me to the right place. Lead me to the right person to listen to. And of course, I subscribe to various Christian channels. So, why not? Why can't God lead me to something that's going to energize my soul and feed it? Okay. So last week, I was having a really hard week. And I think partly it's because I finished my book and I haven't started my new one yet. I was taking a break. I thought I would just jump right in and do something at least. Maybe continue working on the formatting of the book that I will be publishing soon, or revise maybe the blurb, which I'm not satisfied with it. There's something that is bugging me about it, and I haven't figured it out yet, but I will figure it out. And blurbs are awful. They're never going to be a writer's best writing. The whole point is really to give the reader an idea of what the book is about, so they know if they want to read it. That's all a blurb is for. If you can make a book sound exciting, that's great, but the writing itself is not easy to do. It's like the hardest writing that a writer does. And it is what it is. I don't know what to say about that. It's just something that every writer has to learn to do, and they just have to deal with it. There was, I think it was Anna and the Dragon. Somebody wrote that blurb for me, and it was fine at the time, and it's okay. It's okay, but it's not. Even when somebody else wrote my blurb for me, it wasn't great. And you'd think that if somebody else, with their different perspective, who had read the book, that they could come up with something more exciting or more, dead on. This is spot on. This is what the blurb should be. But I don't know, it was just okay, because how can you condense like the intense workings of a 350-page book or 100,000-word book in this tiny little 150-word capsule? And that takes talent to be able to do that. And right now, I am not extremely talented at that, but I'm getting better with every book. And I'm going to drink some water, because the coffee wasn't really working to get rid of the gravel in my voice. So I was looking for something to just get me through each day, because I really did have a hard week last week. I was tired. I wasn't sleeping enough. I never sleep enough, but sometimes my not enough is better than others, because there's a difference between 4 hours of good sleep and 4 hours of bad sleep. I mean, you can tell the difference, and it was not a great week for me. Even nights that I slept like 4 or 5 hours, which is like as much or more than I ever sleep. So it was it was a tough week, and it was hard to get through each day. And that's why I was looking for help. But the funny thing is, like, every time I would say, okay, God, please send me something that's going to help me and give me energy, a word from you, a word of encouragement, or even sometimes God doesn't send words of encouragement. He sends words telling you to follow, you need to stop doing this, that sort of thing, because God will point out our sins as well as encourage us. So both are true, but he often does send me encouraging words, and especially like I was talking about in another video, he sends me Bible verses, and sometimes on repeat. But you know what kept happening last week when I would ask God for that? Every time I would go on my YouTube, where I subscribe to all these Christian channels, and I would see Los Invasores videos, okay? So that's all I saw, like, every single time. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, yeah, I like the band. They're good. I've always liked their music, but I don't think that I really searched for them on YouTube. I don't know why that was happening. It was just, that was all I was getting. And it would be like, that would pop up first on my feed, and then I'd scroll down. I'm like, this is all I have. This is it. I just could not figure that out. I'm like, I don't get it. But on the other hand, our phones listen to us, and I was playing a couple of their songs last week. Me refiero a ti was one, and I can't remember the other one at the moment. It's like out of my mind. That was one of them. And honestly, the neat thing about that song is that it's this beautiful homage to his father, the writer, whoever wrote the song. It's a beautiful homage to his father. And, you know, speaking of worldly love, and he is honoring his father and how he was raised by his father. And it's just beautiful, because when you have that in your life, when you do have the benefit of human love, especially the love of a father, and thankfully I have that as well. You know, I grew up with a very loving Christian father and mother, but this song is particularly a homage to his father. It's just this beautiful thing. Like, when you don't have that in your life, you feel it, and you know that you don't, and you know that you're lacking, and it's sad. And it's beautiful to play a song like that on the accordion and to think about the lyrics, because they're really quite beautiful. And that's so interesting. Maybe that's why it popped in my head, because I was talking about human love, and a lot of us, we don't have it. And I just see it. I confront it so much in my life. You know, when I hear people's stories, you know, you see that. You see people who lacked love from a father or a mother too, because maybe they grew up with a single mom, but their mom was too busy and she didn't know how to express her love, and she was just overburdened all the time. And you hear that, and then they can't stay married, so they get into one bad relationship after another, and so they're never experiencing that love. And the only thing that, like, I have to say is, well, you can't look for it from other humans, because they will fail you. But when they don't, when you do have a beautiful expression of human love, it's really neat to hear that in a song. And that's a beautiful song. As far as, you know, I've noticed that before. You know, our phones do listen to us, and I've noticed that I'll play a song on my accordion, and then it will pop up in my YouTube feed. And I've pointed that out to my son. I'm like, look, I was just playing the song on the accordion. He's like, nah, it's not recommending that because you're playing it. I'm like, I don't know what to say about it. My phone was listening to me, and now it's recommending me to listen to this song. So I don't know. I still can't think of the other song I was playing by Los Invasores. I can't think of what it is right now. I'm sure it will come to me, because I was playing two different songs that I was trying to learn how to play on my accordion in the last couple weeks. So maybe that's why I can't, otherwise I can't explain it, unless God just has a sense of humor. He's like, Jill, just listen to your music and it will make you happy. And maybe that's all, because I firmly believe that God has a sense of humor, and he could be telling me that, like, you don't always have to listen for Christian inspirational, you know, videos. You can listen to your music, and your music can be happy. And maybe I should have paid more attention to that song, because I was playing it on the accordion without really paying attention to the lyrics, and it wasn't until I really started listening, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of a beautiful song. I like that song, so I'm glad that I was playing it on my accordion. So maybe that's what God wanted me wanted to show me. I don't know. I think it's funny. You know, I tend to, you know, anybody who's an atheist or agnostic probably thinks I'm ridiculous when I talk about these things. Like, it's just a coincidence. It's because you listen to this music, and because you listen to this music, YouTube is recommending it to you. That's the way YouTube algorithms work. But YouTube usually will play music that you search for, and I can't remember the last time I searched for one of their songs. Yeah, their songs will end up on my playlist, but, well, especially on Spotify, but YouTube, usually it'll be like, okay, so I searched for a Fidel Rueda song, and now I see nothing but his videos, and I actually love his music. He's one of my favorite. He plays a giant piano accordion, and it's pretty neat. But that's just another digression here. I think I might have said all that I really was feeling like I needed to say. So I don't know what else to say except that I am ready to start my new book, and I have my characters. I know who my characters are. I'm still working on I'm sorry. This is actually kind of funny. Well, to me, because I find things funny. So because I was inspired to put like people that I really knew as my main characters, but it was like the parallel universe version of them. It's not them, you know. I'm writing, you know, freely and creatively. I'm writing creatively. Yes, that's the adverb. I was writing fiction, but they were based off of real people. So in the next book, the main character will be a techie who's based off of somebody that I really know, but obviously it's going to be the alternative universe version of him. And I was trying to think of what I would name him. You know, he's actually, I'm not going to tell you who it is. Well, he actually said that I could do an interview with him, so maybe I will do that someday. But he is named after one of the Gospels. We'll leave him anonymous for now until he actually does an interview with me. We'll leave him anonymous. But every name that I think of for him, it's all wrong. It's just not right. And so one day when I went to the office, the maintenance guy, well, the tech guy was going to come to the office, and the maintenance guy's like, you should name him Paco Loco. And I'm like, well, that's really funny because I've been thinking that I should name him Paco Paco. I don't know why, it just struck me as being really funny if I would just name him Paco Paco. But the maintenance guy's like, it should be Paco Loco. And I'm like, I don't know, Paco Paco is really funny to me. But then later, as I do, I will often put my names into a Google search just to see, you know, who else out there has such a name, because I don't really want to name my characters after real people, although if the names are common enough, it's, you know, bound to happen, but it's never going to be intentional. So I put Paco Paco into my Google search, and it turns out there's a Spanish singer called Paco Paco. Yeah, his name's Paco Paco. So he goes by, he's Paco Doble. And then that also brought up Paco Paco Paco, because apparently Paco 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 is a song. And I'm like, this is getting really crazy because Paco Triple, I don't know what to do with that. But it's like, if you go listen to the song, seriously, it's going to send you into Eurovision world, and you might start dancing like this cross between a 60s spy thriller dance crossed with like 80s robot. So kind of like puppet crossed with robot would be how I would imagine that one would dance to Paco Triple on Eurovision. And Eurovision is really awful, so I don't know what to say about that. But I was still kind of into the idea of having a character named Paco Paco. Like, why would his name be Paco Paco? Well, I don't know. Maybe his dad's name is Francisco, and his mom's father's name is Pancho. So they decided to call him Paco Paco, or it just becomes this Paco Paco because he's named after both, because I think it's all the same name, Francisco, Pancho, y Paco. I think they're all the same name, like nicknames, like Pancho, Paco are nicknames of Francisco. Yes. And no, I can't really explain it, but that's the way that's as far as I know. Paco is a nickname of Francisco. And Francisco, you know, is most of the time people are named after when they're named after San Francisco, they're named after the Saint Francis of from Italy. My brain just went out of my head. You know, the St. Francis, who was a doctor of the church, and St. Clare was his sort of female counterpart. Yeah, that's what most people mean. But I bet you didn't know that my patron saint is St. Francis, but my patron saint is actually from France. He's St. Francis du Sales. I have no idea how to pronounce French, so please forgive my slaughtering of the French language. That is my patron saint, is St. Francis. So maybe this character will be like an extension of myself, but it'll be like Paco. So in a way, it'll be like me, and it'll be like this tech guy that I know. So maybe that's why he'll be Paco. Anyway, the reason why St. Francis de Sales is my patron saint, and this is just silly because I have eschewed the idea of apologetics and debate, and it just gets really annoying to me. There are several things that really annoy me, and one is that a lot of people who think that they're really logical and low emotion really aren't. Like, they suppress their emotions and then they believe that they're logical, but they're not actually very logical. And then you have a lot of people who really mistake rhetoric for logic. And so I don't know which annoys me more. Rhetoric is more persuasive to the human soul, but you're supposed to use logical paradigms in debate, and that kind of annoys me. But St. Francis de Sales was an apologist at a time when Calvinism was spreading, and so he was an apologist for the Catholic Church, and he wrote hundreds and hundreds of texts in standing up for the Catholic faith against Calvinism. And he actually went out and preached to Calvinists too, and he actually brought a lot of Calvinists back to the Catholic Church, and so that's what he's known for. And I took him on as my patron saint because he is a patron saint of writers, and I have had at that time, up to that time, when I took the St. Francis as a patron saint, I spent a lot of time arguing when I was young. So I spent a lot of time arguing with Calvinists, and I don't really argue anymore, and I don't really even like it. But that at the time, it was kind of apropos to me. And I think that ultimately, it's probably still apropos. I've just sort of pushed it to the side for now, and I don't really want to do it. But if that's really my patron saint, I should take it on more seriously. The thing about St. Francis de Sales is that he was a very kind man, and he was very gentle in his apologetics. He was not nasty and rude and aggressive. He wasn't like that. He was very kind and loving. That was his approach to bringing people back to the faith. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Calvinists are Christians too. Well, yeah, but they have some really odd views. And I know that some of the views that they hold today are not with what Calvin himself held to. So that's a whole nother issue. But yeah, that's my patron saint. And I should start doing that. I've been feeling like God has wanted me to do more in the apologetics realm, but like I said, I've just found it more and more distasteful over the years. So God's going to really have to inspire me and push me that direction. I'm fairly good with logic, but I don't like it. And I don't like living in a logical, materialistic world, because I believe that people who are capable of logic and who love and worship at the altar of logic, they tend to be very arrogant in their understanding of the world. Well, this is what my logic has led me to. Well, but your logic isn't everything. What you observe with your five senses and you put through logical paradigms, it doesn't make it correct. It doesn't make what the conclusions that you've come to correct, even though you believe that to be the case. Because all you have to do is start with, you can have a completely logical paradigm, but if you start with the wrong premises, then your conclusions are going to be false and they're going to be 100% logical. And so I think that human brains are limited. Our logic is limited, and ultimately we use logic as a way to justify our emotional decisions. Humans are emotional creatures. That's their starting point to the world. It doesn't matter how suppressed our emotions are. It doesn't make a difference. We still make decisions based off of emotions, and sometimes we call it gut instinct. Well, that's just a type of logic. Well, yeah, I guess, because it's informed by our experiences in the world. So yes, I guess that's a kind of logic when you actually use your experience to inform your future decisions. Yes, that's probably a good thing because it's, smart, but not always, because human beings are just not, compared to the mind of God, compared to the mind of a God who can create the entire universe, who can speak, and stars are formed. Yeah, our minds are really nothing. Our minds are not that great. Our minds are not that capable of understanding. We have very limited understanding. Our wisdom is as foolishness to God, or compared to God, and our foolishness is sometimes a little smarter. All the stories of like the emperor's new clothes, or that's just the one that popped into my head. And it's usually in those stories, it's usually a child or a fool that actually reveals the truth, because we get so caught up in our wisdom and our logic that we cannot actually see what is going on around us. We cannot see reality. We cannot see the truth. And sometimes it takes a fool to show it to us, or a child, as in the Emperor's New Clothes. That was a child, from what I remember from the story, that actually spoke the truth when all of the logical, smart, educated people, the adults, couldn't see that the emperor had no clothes on. They were told that he did, and they weren't going to admit that they couldn't see his clothes, because then what are you going to do when your king's not wearing any clothes, when your king is naked, when this person that you're supposed to be paying obeisance to isn't wearing anything? That's the way humans are. And that's why I don't think much of logic. And honestly, when it comes to apologetics and debate, so somebody has better logic and somebody wins the debate, okay? Who cares whether you win the debate? The only thing that really matters is truth. What is true and what is not true? And there is an objective reality, but the way we process reality is extremely subjective. So what does it matter? Like, if you win a debate, who cares? It doesn't change reality. It doesn't change objective reality. And that's why I don't feel inclined towards debate or apologetics. And apologetics is a little broader than debate, although that's what we think of it as. It's a little broader because it's really just a defense of our faith. And that doesn't have to be a logical debate. It doesn't have to be a debate at all. It can just be a defense of our faith. Well, why do you believe what you believe? Well, because I am a miserable, awful sinner, and God still loves me, and he showed me that he loves me. That's why I believe. There's no logic to that at all. I just feel like God loves me and he has called me, and so I follow him. No logic to it. And it's still an apologetic because it really gets at the heart of what human beings want, which is love and affirmation. Oh, that affirmation. That is so hard not to want affirmation. I mean, it is a necessary part of the human experience. I think I already said that. But humans need affirmation. But if you're looking for that in the world, you're going to get beat up. I don't know how many creative writing classes I've taken where you, on the first day of class, gosh, I'll like smash these mosquitoes and I open my palms and they fly out. They're like special robotic mosquitoes that just spring back to life. Maybe they're just power super mosquitoes. I don't know. I don't know what to say, but they just spring back to life. And so like, even if I manage to get them, they're there again and they still bite me. I have mosquito bites all over. Yes, it's just a hazard of being out here. Oh, I was talking about creative writing classes. That's one thing that you're going to get when you first walk in. The professors are going to be really mean. They're going to be like, if you came in here looking for affirmation, then you should just leave right now because you're not going to get it. And they're just mean and nasty. Like, writers need affirmation too. I mean, just like all human beings. Maybe they don't need to be told that, wow, you're the best writer that since Dostoevsky. Maybe they don't need to hear that, or maybe they don't need to hear that they don't need to work on their writing and they need to learn how to edit and make their stories better. But being, I don't know. I guess that's what you get from creative writing training college is you are learn how to be super mean to fledgling writers. I guess because you had to experience that and you had to learn to toughen up and be mean back because boy, your soul was just stripped bare and beat up and sent back, and this whole new like Frankenstein creature, and now you got to be Frankenstein to all the fledgling authors. Gosh, I would not be like that if I were a professor. I just know that I would want to encourage every single person. I would want to edit their work and teach writing skills without like saying, no, I'm not going to give you affirmation. How dare you even come in here looking for that? You know, it just, I don't think I would ever want to be mean and hurtful, which is probably why I will never be a teacher ever full time. I mean, I've done a lot of teaching, but I don't think that I'm meant to be that way because gosh, I just can't be mean. I don't want to be mean to people who are younger and looking to me for help. They want encouragement, and I don't want to like beat them down. That's not what I would ever want to do as a teacher. So again, like why I can't be a teacher. Why when it came to finally breaking out of my freelance lifestyle, I had to become a church secretary. Yep, that's my job. And and hopefully I can be super nice to people and not beat them up there too. Although, you know, I have my off days. So if I've ever been mean to you, I apologize immensely because everybody has their bad days. And I think we're going to leave it at that because I have been talking for 48 minutes. And we'll leave it on that note that we all have our bad days and sometimes we ramble on and on and on. So have a great rest of your day. Have a great week, and I will see you again. Maybe I'll even do that post that I had planned to post. Last week I was going to do a weekly post, but I was just too tired every day. Like I have this place where I sneak off to take a nap, and I did that pretty much every lunch hour. I would go out in the sunshine for a little bit, and then I would be like, yeah, I gotta go like die for a few minutes. That's the way I feel. It's like dying and resurrecting. Even if you like let your mind blank out for a few minutes, it's like the sort of phoenix from the flame process. Beauty from ashes, the phoenix from the flame. Beauty from ashes comes from the Bible. Phoenix from the flame is kind of a similar imagery from mythology. Yeah, that's what I feel like when I descend into that nether world in the brain for a few minutes. And I think I'm going to go do that now because that's what I like to do on Sunday. So, like I said, have a great day, great rest of your week, and maybe I will post sometime in the week. So, that's it.